Welcome to Previously On, a podcast series created to help you through some of the most complex yet brilliant television ever made. Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 6, Beyond the Wall. We begin beyond the wall. Jon, Gendry, Tormund, the Hound, Beric Dondarrion, Thoros of Myr, Jorah and 5 other wildlings are on their suicidal mission in search of a white to capture to prove the White Walker's existence to Cersei. The crew, not particularly happy about the circumstance or company, begin to find common ground. The Hound follows signs he saw in his vision, leading the way. Meanwhile, Arya and Sansa are talking in Winterfell, and Arya confronts her sister regarding the letter she sent back home begging their father Ned to surrender and confess his treason to Joffrey. Arya accuses Sansa of almost killing their father with this letter. Sansa quite rightly argues that she was just a child and under duress, but begins to fear she's lost her sister. At Dragonstone, Daenerys and Tyrion sit in the hall discussing military tactics for an attack on King's Landing. Tyrion also broaches the topic of her succession. Daenerys doesn't want to talk about it yet, saying she'll plan for her future once she has the crown. Tyrion also makes a little remark about Jon being the latest in a long line of brave men to fall in love with her. Back beyond the wall, a blizzard has struck. One of the wildlings spots something in the distance. They think it's an animal with ice-blue eyes. The wildling retreats running at speed, but is killed by an incredible undead polar bear. It's amazing. The crew fight the bear as it continues to run amok, almost killing the Hound. The bear gets killed, but Thoros is savaged in the process, with his wounds being cauterized by Beric. Sansa and Littlefinger are discussing what to do about Arya. Littlefinger assures her that Brienne would surely intervene if Arya was to consider anything too drastic. The crew beyond the wall hear the noise of marching feet and lay a trap, ambushing some stray whites along with a White Walker. Jon sends Longclaw his Valyrian sword through the body of the White Walker, killing it and all the whites surrounding them as well. It appears that when a White Walker gets killed, it takes every white it created along with it. The crew have inadvertently discovered how they might end the army of the dead once and for all. The last stray white gets tied up and the crew head for Cersei with proof of winter, finally. However, it howls out an almighty scream, attracting hundreds of the undead who chase the crew to the centre of a frozen lake. They're surrounded, but saved by the water. Remember Hardhome? They can't swim. Jon tells Gendry to run to the wall and send a raven to Daenerys. Gendry makes it back, just, and a raven is shortly on its way. The Night King watches from afar at the top of the lake, waiting patiently for his moment to strike. The crew discover Thoros frozen to death. So they set his body alight for warmth and to stop him turning against them. Back at Winterfell, Sansa receives an invite to meet Cersei in King's Landing. She doesn't want to abandon her post, so asks Brienne to go in her place. Brienne is reluctant, but Sansa holds firm. Daenerys gets the raven sent from Gendry and jumps on Drogon and, along with Rhaegal and Viserion, flies to Jon's aid. The Hound, bored and frustrated at the standoff on the lake, picks up a rock and hurls it towards an idle white. He comes up short, and the rock slides along the refrozen lake. The whites realise this and begin to start crossing. The crew hold them off as best they can, but are starting to become overwhelmed. There is nowhere left to run. When all hope is seemingly lost again, Daenerys flies in. Walls of fire begin to wipe out almost everything in sight. Whites are falling like dominoes. Daenerys asks Jon to get on Drogon with her and escape, but he continues fighting. The Night King's handed an ice spear and expertly takes down Viserion, who crashes to the ground, dies, and slumps into the water. 3 dragons, and now 2. Jon is tackled by whites and he too plummets underwater. The Night King takes aim again. Daenerys can't wait any longer and flies off, narrowly avoiding the second spear. Jon emerges from the lake, Longclaw in tow, trying to walk away when the whites notice he's still alive and charge for him. From nowhere, Benjen appears on horseback with a pretty badass flaming mace and saves him. He puts Jon on his horse and sacrifices himself to the whites as Jon escapes. Thanks, Uncle Benjen. Safely back at Dragonstone, Daenerys looks on anxiously, waiting for Jon. Just as she's about to give up, she sees him slumped over the horse's back. He's bundled onto one of the ships bound for King's Landing. At Winterfell, Sansa finds a satchel containing 2 of Arya's faces, one being Walder Frey. Arya enters and explains her new skill before giving her the Valyrian dagger. On the ship back to King's Landing, Jon wakes up to Daenerys watching over him. She tells him she believes him now and will help him defeat the Night King and his army. Jon returns the favour by swearing allegiance to her as his queen. Back at the lake, huge chains are used by masses of whites to exhume Viserion the dragon's body from the water. The Night King walks forward and, places his hand on the dead beast's head. He now has an ice dragon. Thanks for listening. Hope it's been helpful. Listen, if you've enjoyed this, I would love it if you subscribed. We've got loads more shows where this came from, and we'd love you to join us for them. If you know someone who needs to get up to speed with Thrones, just send them our way. A 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts from would also be absolutely fantastic. If you've got any feedback, have I pronounced a name wrong? I hope I haven't. Or ideas for a show that we should be covering? We'll almost certainly be doing the big ones, but you never know. There may be others that we've missed. Let us know. I'd love to hear from you over on Twitter. You can find us at Previous Podcast, or just email us hello@previouslyon.co.uk. Previously On is presented by Jamie East and is a Daft Doris production.